Welcome to NorthWest Digital News. I'm Kevin Hunter with Chris Bornstead and Kyle Torgeson in studio today. We have a beautiful Monday, August 20th. Kyle, hit us up with some weather.
The weather. Today's going to be a high of 91 and low 57. It's going to be partly cloudy. It's going to be partly cloudy all the way up to pretty much Tuesday, which is tomorrow. It's going to be in the 90s all the way up to Thursday, where it's going to drop down to 70s, and it's going to be 70 all week.
That's kind of nice. You see that, Chris? Yeah. You're not going to be out in your pool, but it will definitely be more comfortable later this week.
Well, actually, tomorrow, later today, and probably on Wednesday, I'll be in the pool. Mm-hmm. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, look at that. 96 tomorrow.
What I'm really excited for, though, is Sunday.
Actually,
You're excited for what?
Sunday. For it to rain with all the forest fires going on.
Yes.
We need some rain.
We could use some rain.
You guys know what I'm getting excited about? School starts again here pretty quick. And all my kids will be back in school. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Very good.
Yeah. Oh, and Thursday's my birthday. So, it's kind of exciting, but not really.
Nice.
It's okay.
I know.
Yeah.
We aren't going to party this year. I haven't done that in a long time.
You party when it's back to school?
I party when it's back to school, yes. Birthday, no.
I'd like to say hello to Van. Hello, Van.
That's, yeah.
It's Catherine.
Yes.
Van Catherine.
Catherine.
She has a possum.
Hello. She has a possum?
She has a possum. Yeah.
Well, hey, let's take this moment to say hello to all the people following us on the various social media platforms. Twitch, Patreon, YouTube, Facebook page, Facebook group. And Kyle, tell people how they can support the show if they would like to.
Well, before I say that, because I want to wait for the little squirrely thing to come on by.
I see.
Did you say squirrel?
Squirrel. Talking about Squirrel Fest, and talking about Michael Frericks, who just commented. Michael Frericks said, was great to finally meet you guys this past weekend.
Likewise, Michael.
Yeah, it was pretty great. Now, what we're talking about is you can support our show at Patreon, which is patreon.com/NorthWest Digital News. Now, Patreon's pretty cool. You can support us there if you like what we're doing. You can either pay a monthly fee, or if you'd like, you can set it up so you pay per show.
And you can also set a monthly cap on it, too.
Yes.
So let's say somebody puts $1 a show, but they don't want to spend more than $15 a month. You can set it up that way. So it's very easy the way they have it set up.
And the cool thing about Patreon is we have shows that we don't really post on like YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, and you can only find them specifically on Patreon. And the only way to access them is if you're a patron. So that's a cool thing.
That
and
is
also
correct.
with I'm pretty excited. We're getting a tier system, so depending on how much money you donate, you get some cool swag.
Got all kinds of cool swag.
I've seen this swag. I know what you guys are talking about. So
yeah. Very cool.
Everybody loves free stuff.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, let's move on to our show topics today. We wanted to talk about the economy, some effects of tariffs. Do they work? Do they not work? There's been a lot of criticism of the Trump administration's use of tariffs. We're going to see what impact tariffs have actually had on the Chinese economy dating back to the 90s. So we'll have that conversation in a moment. However, but before we go to that story, you guys brought up a video that was on social media today.
Yeah. Well, it was this weekend.
It was this weekend. Okay.
You spend the Saturday nights, scamming through your Facebook.
Scamming through?
Yeah, you're going through, you're scamming through your Facebook posts, and all of a sudden you come across this video and it says, message from Antifa, intimidating message from Antifa. And I was like, I gotta see this. And so I watched the video, and as soon as I watched it, it reminded me of my other millennial friend, Kyle. And so I had to send it to Kyle.
So you had to send it to Kyle.
And so we showed that to Kevin this morning when we came in, because, you watch this video and you just can't stop laughing.
They've been repeating the line all morning, so go ahead and roll it here for
So this is the video. This is what we're up against here. Go ahead and take a look.
Trump and Pence, we say no. No, 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 no. Trump and Pence, we say no. No, 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 no. Trump and Pence, we say no. No, 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 no.
Guy just loses it.
Crack cocaine. We say no. We say no. No, 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 no. Boy, do you not know Trump supporters are cornbread fed? They will whoop your butt. Do you not know? Who you supposed to be scaring? Because I can call Tammy's son Bubba right now, and Bubba will stump you out. Boy, you better go to bed.
Anyway.
All right, so there's this ridiculous video playing out there.
Yeah, what really caught my attention was the guy that's wearing the pink hat. He looks like a friend of mine that I used to work with. And so when I originally looked at the video, I was like, there is no way this is my buddy Shane. But I and I clicked on it. It was like, man, it looks just like him. But
I'm wondering what he's trying to prove with all this like wing flapping. He looks like a baby duck.
Well, first of all, you guys, I'm telling you right now, no man should ever put on that hat. That is not
correct.
Something for a man to wear. That is something that women wear when they are generating support for their causes. So for him to put this hat on is just absolutely ridiculous. And, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. He looks like an ass. So, yeah, maybe guys don't, you could be there to support your friends and your loved ones in their things like this, but don't put the hat on. That's that's not for you. You have a whole different setup of inner workings to
Chris. At least as it pertains to this individual, I think the hat is the least of his worries.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But
I think his brain floated off of his brainstem.
Have you heard of the term soy boy?
Yeah.
Soy boy, the people that eat a lot of soy, like Soylent, like the Soylent drink. They just basically lose all muscle mass and become basically like this. That word comes to mind. Actually, I think I might know who bought him that hat. It's probably his wife's boyfriend's hat that he bought. His wife's boyfriend probably bought that hat for him.
Ah, I see.
Okay. My favorite part of the video, though, honestly, you guys, is the reaction.
The reaction of the gentleman. Yes, that was priceless.
That's doing the video. He loses it, and I tend to think that that's actually kind of real because you should see his face. If you watch the guy's face as he's watching the video, it's priceless. He's just, yeah. But anyway, yeah, so this is our little poke of fun for Monday morning.
Yeah. All right. Apparently, according to Michael, this is an Antifa regulation hat.
Oh, it could be. It's just a real interesting weekend for me because I was, some people think I spend a whole bunch of time on Facebook. I really don't, but I do go through and I do a lot of reading on the internet, and I do read a lot of comments from people. And so one of the interesting things that happened that I'm hoping that we'll talk about on a later show is that there was a rally in Seattle this weekend. And
there was a rally in Seattle. Yeah. Let's visit about that briefly before we move on to our show
And basically,
topics.
Just real quick, I don't want to ruin everything or give it away because I really want the person that attended this rally to come in and talk to you guys about what it was like.
Kelburn Coons,
yes. But,
spoilers.
Kelburn went up to this rally that was organized not by white supremacists as reported by just about every news media out there. Mm-hmm. It was, however, organized by 3%ers who are patriots and I believe ex-military. Mm-hmm. So they put on this event along with Patriot Prayer. And the videos, the live streams, and the stuff coming from the media versus the videos that were coming from people who had feet on the ground are completely incredible. They're just different as night and day. Mm-hmm. And if I was a police officer in Seattle, I can, I've been doing some reading and I see that a lot of Seattle police officers are leaving. I don't blame them because in the videos that I watched yesterday that the media ignores, you had the police riding their bikes down the streets and walking down the streets with Antifa yelling Nazis go home. Mm-hmm. And just saying hateful things to the police officers. Then you had, where they barricade to keep the two groups from each other. They line it up with police officers. And they did that. And this is Antifa. This is Antifa doing this. Not the peaceful guys that organized the rally like the media would. The media was, they're all white racists and violent people. No, it's not the people that are put on the rally. It's the people on the outside, the Antifa people. They're out there walking back and forth in front of the cops playing music on the radios such as NWA's Can we say the F word on the radio show? Because that's the name of the song. But, basically playing music that is discouraging to cops, and very rude. And all they're doing is just doing their jobs, trying to keep everybody safe. So you guys, when you see the media reporting on these rallies and you see these live streams put on by KATU, these guys they're at probably specific locations that they handpicked, because you're not hearing all the hateful things that are coming from the people that aren't inside the rally. All the hateful stuff is coming from the people who are protesting, the peaceful people inside the rally. But the media is reporting it differently, and they need to stop that, you guys. And if you believe that these people that are putting on these protests are white racists, turn off your TV and go down there, because once you get there, you're going to see with your own eyes who the violent people are, who the disgusting, deplorable people are. And it wasn't the 3%ers or the Joey Gibson Patriot Pair Group. It just wasn't. So anyway, hopefully we'll get, we have a lot of video that Kelburn was sending to me back and forth, and just the videos I was watching is just incredible. I mean, someone standing next to Kelburn actually had something thrown at them and their face was cut open. I mean, this is just what they're enduring, just going out there to peacefully assemble and support what they believe in. Apparently, the people in Seattle, Antifa, believe that the only people that can have a public opinion is them.
That's correct. That's the lack of tolerance that they demonstrate while speaking about people needing to have tolerance.
Yeah.
So
it's absolutely just disgusting.
Yeah.
So I have never once even wanted to attend a rally to call people names like that. And it's incredible how the police are being treated in this. They're kind of like a middleman, Kevin. They're just there to make sure that both sides are protected. The one side, they get along with the police great. The Patriot Prayer guys and the 3%ers, they get along with the police great. Why? Because they support the police. They support what they do. Antifa does not.
So, just to go to the Antifa, the caliber of the Antifa people, I've actually attempted to have conversation with them on more than one occasion, and they actually won't speak with you. In fact, I was just met with silence. I'd actually like to go to one of these rallies that they have, or where they show up, and see if you could actually find some civil people there to actually have some conversation with. Because it's my opinion that when somebody hides behind a rag on their face, they don't want people to know who they are. It's an act of cowardice to begin with. And if they want to say, well, I don't want to be persecuted, or I don't want to be this, or I don't want to be that, based on whatever. Hey, if you are just simply speaking the truth and you got a valid point, take your mask off, tell people who you are, tell them how to get a hold of you. Don't be a coward. You don't need to hide behind that garbage.
And citizens, if you're out there and you're watching this and you have your phone on you, or you have a video camera on you, hit record, hit live stream, because you know what? You just became the most accurate news source reporting on it.
Bingo. All right. So let's move on to our other stories here on the show. We want to talk about, this is actually a short little clip that we're going to play from you that comes from the White House channel. So go ahead and roll that for our audience, Kyle.
Made in America is back. Now, some people would say made in the USA. I personally don't care. The fact is, we're back. We have 400,000 new manufacturing jobs. Our opponents said that could never happen. It has happened, and we're going to develop a lot more in a very short period of time. So, made in the USA, made in America, it's back.
All right, so there's President Trump sharing his view on made in America.
Doesn't that just kind of make you tingle, Kevin? Doesn't it just make you feel good to know that we're coming back?
Interesting thing is that, see, I was a quality director, a quality engineer, and also a quality systems auditor back in the late 80s and going into the 90s. I'm very familiar with the significant presence that manufacturing had everywhere around the United States. And then I watched it shrink and shrink and shrink. I actually had a conversation with some fairly intelligent people late last week, just talking about manufacturing, and somebody raised made the point to me during this conversation that said, "Hey, didn't you used to be a ISO 9000 auditor, and weren't you a quality director?" Yeah, when manufacturing was in the United States. So there's all different forms of manufacturing. You could pretty much go anywhere. There were machine shops every place. There was tool and die shops every place. From plastic mold injection going on to rubber mold injection, all of those kinds of tons and tons of that kind of stuff being done right here in the United States. And then slowly watched all that stuff get shipped overseas. But seeing it come back, yeah, it's when you talk about, is that a good feeling? Well, absolutely it is. It was the backbone a long time of the American economy, and to have manufactured product come back here to the United States, it's fantastic news. And I hope that people are paying attention out there, because there's been a lot of conversations. We had conversation last week about this. I believe it was on Wednesday. We were talking about vocational education and the importance of bringing that back and making it available, not just for those who have moved on beyond high school, but bringing those skills back to people at a high school level, so that if a student wishes to, they can go right into the workforce out of high school, as opposed to going to college or other places. Anyway, I'd love to see that vocational education coming right back into our high schools. It's what the Chinese are using, and using very well. And for people who thought that manufacturing organizations today are still going to China as a result of low labor costs, actually the reason they're going is because the Chinese are making much better use of vocational training and creating a skilled workforce that manufacturers of goods absolutely love to have available. You know how many people they have in the workforce over there in China? You know how many people?
I think it's probably really, really high. Because
number is somewhere between 650 and 700 million people.
What do the rest of the people do? I mean, what do honestly, what do the rest of the people over there do in China that don't have jobs? Do they have
children and probably elderly people?
Oh, but are they taken care of? Well taken care of?
That I can't comment on.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious on what kind of...
But we did talk to people in North Korea, and they said they can't complain about how they're treated.
Here we go again.
Here we go again.
No, it's just a question, because here we have security systems and nets for people who don't have jobs. And, and some of the stuff that I'm going to read up to you here in a little bit, about the economy, talks a little bit about that, about job growth and stuff like that. But it's just a question. We have welfare systems here. Do they have something like that in China for those people that don't work? Do they have this problem, or do they not have this problem?
To the internet.
To the internet we go to do some research.
Aha. Sorry, I guess I should have asked that question at a different time.
Yes. No problem.
But it makes sense. I mean, if they have such a high amount of people in the workforce, that and then there's a group of people that don't work, somebody's got to take care of these people somehow. So that's just what I was curious about.
Okay, so I sent you an article that's published here by Recode. Would you go to that article? Bring that up real quick for us, Kyle.
Boom. Done.
All right, let's throw this on the back screen. This is a article published by Recode. This actually goes back to May 26, 2017. Why manufacturing jobs are coming back to the U.S. even as companies buy more robotics.
Well, somebody's got to help fix the robots. So, there's that.
So in the long run, people thinking that automation and robotics would continue to lead to declines in the manufacturing sector. But actually, we're seeing both things happening right now, is that robotics are continuing to grow in the manufacturing setting, but a need for talented people on a floor level has grown substantially since 2016. Was actually on when we look at the economic data, we are starting to see a rise going back to, we're in steady decline all the way till probably about 2010, and then we saw little bumps coming back. It'll be really interesting to see what has happened here, because the chart that I'm looking at right now has not been updated since 2012. Yeah,
also, for those of you who actually care about things that are going on in California with the water, We just had a guy post up a live video of a water rights rally in Sacramento, California, and that is actually posted on our website. So, if you guys are curious about the water issues down in California, that's some breaking news that's heading down out of there.
Very good. Kyle, let's bring up the article on the Chinese tariffs and what effect tariffs have had, and while we're waiting for Kyle to bring that up,
It's right
Chris, talk about, well, if you would, you have somebody made a post there. Go ahead and share that with regard to tariffs.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't get a chance to read it because he posted a link. I can...
Okay, so while you're doing that, let me just share a couple of things that. So if for people who have wondered, do tariffs work? Here's an interesting thing. This is actually just a little bit of brief history on China, because China has used tariffs for many, many years. So for the past 25 years, China has implemented every pillar of a protectionist trade agenda. So starting in 1994, Beijing deliberately undervalued its currency against the dollar to make Chinese exports cheaper in the U.S. market. It raised tariffs on a wide range of U.S. goods, including everything from consumer products to automobiles. You guys remember, Trump talked about that a lot back in 2016, if you remember, on the campaign trail. China levied a value-added tax that encouraged its manufacturers to target export markets. It funneled hundreds of billions of dollars in subsidies to key industrial sectors, and it mandated the transfer of proprietary technologies to partner companies before allowing U.S. companies access to its consumer markets. Now, you might ask, well, what actually then happened as a result of them implementing these tariffs? Because people have pushed back significantly against tariffs being implemented here in the United States for a number of different reasons. But what happened in China as a result of putting these tariffs into place? Well, in 1993, the yearly exports to the U.S. totaled $32 billion. That was in 1993. By 2000, they had reached $100 billion. So 7 years later, tripled. But last year, they hit $505 billion. Once a net importer of steel, China is now the world's largest steel exporter, according to the Peterson Institute for International Economics. Think about that, guys. $32 billion in 93 to $500+ billion just last year.
Crazy.
This post is just talking about the Smoot-Hawley Act, and it's regarding retaliatory tariffs by American trading partners or the factor of reduction. Anyway, it has to talk about tariffs during the Depression times. But what I'm reading here so far is that the economists couldn't agree on it, so I'm not going to talk about it. If the economists can't agree on whether the thing actually hurt or help us, then I don't know why we would.
Okay, well, scroll down here, Kyle, in this article, and bring up the statistics that I was just sharing just moments ago. A little further down, it'll be underneath that heading right there. China's history proves tariffs work. Right there, you guys, check that out. 1993, yearly exports, $32 billion to the United States. By 2000, they went to $100 billion, and last year at $505 billion. You guys, this downpour, this influx of economic opportunity for China and their exports ballooning from $32 billion to $505 billion happened because China put in tariffs. Do tariffs benefit the home country's economy?
Well, looking at the facts and looking at the data, I'll have to go with yes, but with my feelings, I'm going to say no.
With your feelings, you're going to say, no, 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 no.
Oh, no.
Come on, you have to be like the Antifa soldier.
Oh, man.
And flap your arms around and do like the rooster over the fence.
My inner millennial's coming out.
You're millennial. Oh, dude.
Yeah, your millennial is going to come out, and you're going to say no. Yeah, no. The evidence is pretty overwhelming that a use of a tariff can actually have a very significant positive effect on the home economy. And for 25 straight years, that's exactly been the situation from China. So Michael makes a point that robotics and the use of robotics create a whole new skill set. That's right. It's not only a tech skill set, but also the people running these robotics. Have you guys been into a manufacturing plant where their use of robotics is nearly 100% of the assembly of a product?
I have not.
Okay. Well, you would expect to see a near empty facility if robotics
you
are
have
doing.
to have people there to watch the machines to make sure the machines are running accurately. You have to make sure that they're cutting right. You have to make sure that everything's. I mean, okay, so my wife was a mill worker, and you know they have some automation where she works at, but you still have to have physical people there to watch the machines to make sure that they don't break down, to make sure that they're operating correctly, like in her case, the perforated lines on the toilet paper. If those are off, guess what? They have to start over. So, I mean, you guys, they talk about machines are just doing the work. Okay, you still have to have people fix the machines when they break, service the machines while they're operating, and, like I said, make sure that they're correctly operating.
So a welder on the line who's replaced by a robotic welder now becomes a machine operator.
Somebody, I would imagine, still has to test that weld.
Okay, so the reason I asked the question, it was a little bit of a rhetorical question, but I asked, does this mean that nobody's in the plant because robotics are doing the work? I've been into facilities where they're highly robotic from one end to the other. I would say, if not 100%, the number is somewhere between 90 and 95% of the entire assembly, the welding, the painting, everything else is going into the assembly of the given components. Various plants that I've been in, there's machine operators up and down the line. The place is full of people.
Now, who is coding for the code for the machines?
You're right.
Who
You have to have
is
those people too.
connecting the machines onto the grid? Who is making the grid?
Who's making the machines?
You guys, let me tell you a really cool story here, okay? So this summer I've had a couple of barbecues over at my house, and I've invited some friends, and I'm not going to name this person who they work for or what they do.
When both of your friends came over,
when both of them, it was actually just one, okay?
Thanks,
Kevin. But
okay,
anyway, we're
couch.
sitting there, and this person is an on-call person. And so I had no idea that he could do this, but he was on call. He's at the barbecue at my house, and he gets a call that he has to do some work. And so he whips out his laptop, and from the comfort of my backyard next to the pool, he went to his laptop and he adjusted and corrected the machinery that was having an issue from the comfort of my backyard. Now, that's pretty cool stuff there. I mean, that's pretty impressive, He's over here pushing stuff on a computer in my backyard, and then over somewhere in Longview, a machine is going, oh, okay, yeah, we got to fix this. Yeah, okay, you're right.
Now, if you want a career where you can, get in a little sailboat and sail around the world, like everyone's dream. If you want a career that can do where you want to do that, coding. Literally, you can do it anywhere, like you just said. Yeah. You want to code, you can sign up for a company, or you can just be by yourself and sell, your services to anyone that's like, hey, I need this specific type of code done. You can just be like, yeah, I'm I'm sailing in Florida right now, but I'll do it anyways.
Michael got it right. Robotics create a whole new skill set that's needed.
Robotics is in everything, even farming. It's crazy. There always will be need for coders. So if you ever want to get a cool job, go into coding. Coding's cool.
For a moment, bring this article back, the USA Today article, and scroll down where it says tariffs give a boost to manufacturing workers. The reason I want to touch on this briefly is that one of the sectors that we're seeing a huge boost in our local economy is in the manufacturing sectors. And if you take a look at this top paragraph in particular, I just want to read real quickly. Now the United States is in a large hole with millions of formerly prosperous citizens tumbling down the wage scale to hourly work in the retail sector. No comparison whatsoever to retail jobs from manufacturing jobs. No question about it. Manufacturing jobs are, in most cases, a family wage job. The president's critics caution that tariffs will harm these folks under the assumption that, thanks to their current minimum wage employment, they can somehow still purchase a wide array of goods. That's all hogwash.
And I like to do something. This is going to sound a little funny, what I'm going to say next, but this is, not everybody knows what a tariff is, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just going to read the definition real quick of what a tariff is, so our viewers who may not understand this political stuff understand what it is. And a tariff is a tax or a duty paid on a particular class of imports or exports. Mm-hmm. So it's a verb, fixed price on something. So let's say you have a car that comes from China. That car, if it has a tariff on it, is going to be at a set price, or it's going to have a certain amount of tax on it that might be above and beyond the other products that are coming in, or maybe it could be below. I don't know if they work like that or not. But for those who don't know what a tariff is, you now know what a tariff is.
It's essentially a added bill that had nothing to do with the manufacture, the sale, or the shipment of the good to your doorstep. The country that's receiving it just smacks an extra fee on top of it, and all of a sudden it becomes more expensive to ship that product into that country. And China's been doing this here to every country, attempting to ship into China for the last 25 years. And look what's happened to the manufacturing jobs. Now, think about this. You mentioned the tariffs. They've been putting a tariff on everything that comes into China. But they also played the game with currency. So they undervalued their currency against the dollar to also accelerate that. And then they subsidized billions of dollars into key industrial sectors. And then on top of that, they made vocational training and education available at high school levels throughout their country to create a highly skilled workforce that could handle what they knew was going to be an influx of manufacturing jobs.
For those people who are out there right now wondering and trying to figure out what Kevin Hunter just said, your president understands it 100%.
Bingo. Bingo. He understands it 100%. And that is exactly why, looking back at all this history, guys, this isn't just an opinion about policy. It's about actually what does work and what doesn't work. And what has worked for the Chinese for 25 years is putting a tariff to create an unfair trade situation for U.S. trying to ship into their country. And then we're expected to not have a tariff, anything coming back. And then they're playing with their currency while we're not playing with ours and expected to have a fair playing field. And then while here in the United States, we're losing our trades, our manufacturing jobs, while we pulled vocational training out of our high schools that gave people skills like welding and out-of-body painting and mechanical work and construction trades, electrical trades, heating and cooling, plumbing, all of those things disappeared at a high school level. Well, the Chinese, with the strategies they put into place, knew those jobs are going to come to their country, and they implemented vocational training all around the country and now have one of the most skilled workforces, 600 and some million strong in China, to take care of manufacturing jobs. So we have a huge task here in this country. Is the fact that manufacturing jobs are coming back, that's great. But our leaders in our communities need to recognize that these skill sets need to be given back to our generations coming up through our high schools.
Right. Now, Kevin, before the show, asked me to look up how the economic
U.S. economy is going.
Yeah, and so I went to Google and I grabbed a story by Kimberly Amadio, I think is what it says. But anyway, she talks about this, that the GDP growth rate is expected to remain between the 2% to 3%, which is an ideal range. That's perfect for us to be at. Unemployment is forecast to continue at the natural rate. There isn't too much inflation or deflation. Let's see here. But the overview, let me bring that up. She goes into the overview. The U.S. GDP growth will rise to 2.8% in 2018, 2.4% in 2019, and 2.0% in 2020. That's according to the most recent forecast released at the Federal Open Market Committee meeting on June 13, 2018. So it says the unemployment will drop to 3.6 in 2018 and 3.5 in 2019 and 2020. That's lower than the Fed's 6.7 target. Now let's talk about, unemployment rate. There's two unemployment numbers to report. You have this number that I just reported and what the actual unemployment rate is. The Obama administration, this is where, kind of went crazy. Obama would only report on the lower of the two, which is not the true number on that. So any way you look at it, The unemployment right now is sitting at 6.7, which is better than any time under Obama.
Because one of those two numbers actually relies upon, it's basically a reflection of people who are looking for work.
Right. And if you stop reporting for work, then you don't make that list. And
then you don't make the list, and you're not considered unemployed.
Right.
Even though you need money to sustain yourself.
So I just want to point out that 6.7, even most of the time when you have a 6.7 number or any number on the job list, take that number and double it. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty close to what you're going to get. So even at 12.7% unemployment rate, that is still better than what Obama did, I believe. I'm not perfect, but I'm sure that there's some people on the left that will come up with some junk science to prove that untrue. But anyway, that's looking pretty good for us, I would think.
So let me share something with you. We've talked a lot about GDP here in the United States. And when you think of it, would we all agree that the United States is very much at the top of advanced nations in the world?
Yeah, and economically and stuff like that, we are back on top.
Okay.
We are back on top. That article, I posted that a couple of months ago, all numbers, and nobody is arguing.
Do you know what the GDP of China was between 2000 and 2007?
No.
10%.
That's... Wow.
Yeah.
Now, according to the article I'm just reading, that's not healthy.
Okay. Do you know what the GDP was from 2007 to last year? Do you know what the GDP was? Ranged between 6 and 7%.
So it went down?
Went down somewhat following 2007. But my point is that the number is double what our GDP is here. And the reason I make this point is that going back to people who want to argue that tariffs don't work. China has been using tariffs for 25 years, has no intentions of stopping. However, recently, you've noticed articles now, you've seen this in the news, where the Chinese now want to meet with the Trump administration and talk about a fair deal, a trade deal that's fair for both countries. There has been no discussion on this level at all in many of the past presidencies. I remember back when Reagan talked about this in 1980, when he was campaigning for president against Jimmy Carter, and talking about this, and that something needed to be done to address the trade deficit and the trade problems. If we had a president back in the 70s and 80s that understood some of the moves that you'd have to make in order to bring players like China to the bargaining table, that opportunity to rip off all of America's manufacturing jobs probably wouldn't have been there.
I still remember the crossover of, going back to the video that you played of Donald Trump, talking about Made in America again. Mm-hmm. I still remember as a kid tearing into my electronics and seeing that a lot of the stuff was made in the United States. And I still remember that crossover of tearing apart my broken electronics and seeing where things were not made in the United States anymore. And it just increased and it increased and increased and increased.
So, in 1991, I was touring facilities in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. There were at least 5 major manufacturers of computer components in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis-St. Paul alone. 5. What do you think the chances are that any of those places are building computers there now today?
Very low.
Yeah. That's the kind of stuff that when a country with the power that China has had, when you play games with the currency, when you put tariffs on all of your goods, and you subsidize specific industries that you're targeting around the world, the combined strategy of all of that brings a pouring of money into the country, and China made it happen. It's about time that we had leadership in this country with the backbone to go after these guys and say, you know what, we're going to force a level playing field. Whether you believe that tariffs are the way to accomplish this or not, there's no question whatsoever that they work. So you don't have to like them. And in the true sense of what's fair and reasonable, you'd go, we shouldn't be placing tariffs on any goods coming into this country. I agree. No country should be having any tariffs on their goods. Get rid of the tariffs across the stream in every country and let the free world decide who wants whose goods and services. So in my opinion, that's what it should be. But when your competition isn't doing that, and we're siphoning goods out of this country to or rather from other countries here, importing all of this stuff and siphoning American money out of this country to the rate that we've been doing it over the last many decades, somewhere along the line, somebody has to level the playing field. All these countries need to be playing by the same set of rules. And really pushing the tariffs has forced China to come to the bargaining table, and we may see a leveling of the playing field happening between China and the United States. Who knows? Kyle.
I'm pretty sure we're going to see that.
How many countries have been brought to the table by Trump?
There's been many of them, and you know what's interesting is on the White House channel not long ago, one of the videos on there was titled, "Meeting with Foreign Leaders is a Good Thing." And the reason why it was even published is that the mainstream media was indicating that these meetings with, the leaders of France, the leaders of Britain, the leaders of, from around the world, Korea, China, elsewhere, Putin, somehow that there was something bad about meeting with world leaders.
Well, Kevin, remember, the progressives, they'll meet with anybody, right? But turn around and hammer on other people for meeting with everybody.
It's kind of an interesting...
What the heck, you guys?
Yeah. It's kind of an interesting double standard, isn't it?
We're seeing a lot of double standards from those guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't quite understand. See, people, in relationships and things like that, people are always like, communicate. Everything's about communication because, a key to a healthy relationship with anything is communication, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to something else, people don't quite understand that some rules that apply to that can apply to other things like countries and running a country. So communication with other countries is also beneficial. It can happen. It can be good. It's a good thing. Communication is key to everything.
I'm curious, Michael Fretch. I can't say your name. Ferrix. I have a hard time saying my own last name sometimes. But anyway, you posted up there that every year more and more school districts are phasing out shop class as an unneeded skill. And you said that is such a shame. It is a shame. I would, of course, didn't do good in shop class. I don't do good with power tools. But I am curious on why you think that they are doing this and why they would be cutting out the shop classes. I mean, what good does that do to take those away?
It does a ton of harm is what it does.
Right.
And that's what we were just talking about. It does a ton of harm.
Well, I'm curious on why he thinks why they're doing it.
Go ahead and read it.
Why?
We have a comment by Poby. On Twitch, it says, tariffs make no sense. Why would you interfere with the free market for the purpose of protectionism? It just drives up the cost of goods.
I don't disagree with the comment.
Well, it's a tariff, so I mean, the other countries putting it on us. We don't really have a whole lot of control over that.
If the country, in this case China, puts tariffs on everything, right. So they're driving up the cost of goods of American exports going into their country. They're using tariffs to drive up the cost of those goods. Makes no sense for America. Makes perfect sense for China because it reduces the number of goods that would be purchased in China that American made. And on the flip side of that, putting a tariff here also drives up the cost of goods coming into this country and reduces the amount of goods that would be purchased from that country by U.S. citizens. Does it make any sense in any grand scheme of things? No. So why did China start doing this 25 years ago, and why have they been getting away with doing this for 25 years? Because nobody said that if you're going to put tariffs on our stuff going into your country, we're going to put tariffs on yours as well. So if you don't like us having tariffs on your goods coming into this country, stop putting tariffs on our goods going into your country as well. That is what free market is all about. And 100% agree with the comment by the poster there that free markets should dictate the flow of goods from country to country. Chris, you got anything else?
Sorry, I'm responding to people watching the live stream.
That's all right.
It's kind of part of the job, you guys. So when I'm looking at my phone, I'm actually either looking something up, and the same thing with Kyle. We're reading comments or messages from you guys, so you guys know that we are interacting with you.
I actually have Twitch on right now, so I'm reading the comments on Twitch. I do read the comments, I swear.
All right, so a special thank you to everybody who follows us on Twitch, on Patreon, on YouTube, on Facebook page, on Facebook group. Glad to have you guys along for the ride here on NorthWest Digital News. By the way, we have some other launches of social media platforms that are coming here soon as well. And a number of new items of swag that are coming that have already been ordered coming in. So
Kyle and I are actually working on a new show.
Yes.
It's called Because Freedom or something like that. And it'll be on midnights on Saturday night. And it's about two guys who live in their basement and they pick on the government who provides all their money and pays their bills for them. But yet still, this is early stages, you guys. We aren't there yet.
Because
and it's not their basement, it's their parents.
You're right. It's their parents' basement. You know, all those, you see the social justice warriors online. We're thinking about something along the lines of the social justice warriors, you know.
So wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're going to do a show called Because Freedom. You'll have to do it from somebody's parents' basement, right?
Yeah.
And what are the other premises that you have to have in place to do this?
It has to be in America because you can only do it here because we have the freedom to do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like those people that you talk to in North Korea,
they said they can't complain.
They can't complain.
Yeah, they can't complain.
But anyway, so you know, we're just kidding, but we are working on some other shows, you guys, and look forward to those. I'm hoping to be able to do a few more too. It's just getting the time to do them.
If somebody wants to do a show from their parents' basement and they're an adult, I mean, like an adult, like well past high school, and they want to do a show from their parents' basement, and it has to do about freedom in the country, maybe the title of the show should say, "Because I Failed to Launch." Or because I'm an idiot, or, you know, I'm just suggesting some show titles. Anyway, read the comment.
Popey said, two comments. But China exports DAR more to the U.S. than the U.S. exports to China because China is just better at producing goods.
I'm pretty sure it was.
That's actually true. That's totally true.
Nobody's saying it's not true.
Yeah, and the Chinese workers over there, as we shared even last Wednesday, because they have not dropped their vocational programs like we have here in the United States. Their workers, the skill of their work force, even going back to 16, 17, 18-year-olds, are much more capable
Kevin,
people
all you
than
have
we
to
are here in
do
the States.
is tell somebody to take a look at their architecture.
Yeah.
Take a look at their architecture. Look at the buildings they build. Look at the bridges they build. You don't see those type of things here in our country.
Okay, so what's the other comment here on Twitch?
They don't really need to tariff the states given how much worse the U.S. is at producing.
We're still the greatest, though. Don't for one second think that we aren't the greatest.
At something.
But that doesn't mean that we can get to the point where we're either equal China or better than China.
Yeah, we can, again, now I'm going to have to go through and try to dig up this article for another day. But, you know, we are back on top, you guys. We're back on top.
Here, Toby, I will, Poby.
Yes,
sorry.
the greatest.
The greatest question mark. Here's the link to the China and their tariffs and how their tariffs help their
Yeah, feel free to check out that article and come back and comment on a future broadcast. But thanks for all the comments and feedback. You're spot on with your observations.
Yes, the greatest. We'll debate that another time. You better believe that. Even if we aren't the greatest, we are still the greatest.
Yeah,
always strive for greatness. Always.
You know what's interesting is talking about this greatest conversation. For most of the last year, because of the resurgence of Roger Federer in tennis, there was all this greatest of all time conversation going on around his name in the men's pro tennis circles. And just recently, Rod Laver said, I think Nadal is probably the greatest of all time. So there's always this controversy over who's the greatest at anything.
It's fun to argue.
Yes, it's a fun argument to have. Yes. Fun conversation to have.
Yes. By the way, Poby, so yeah, read that article and then get back to us on Wednesday. We stream on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the news show. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do something different. Tuesdays,
we got a tech
Tuesday.
show coming up tomorrow, Tech Tuesday with Harry Brailsford from SMB Nation. And then a health show that will be coming up on Thursday. And we're like so close, you guys, with legal shows, business shows, and a number of other things. We're just in the process of working the kinks out of those with the schedules, with our schedules here and the schedules of many news contributors who are joining us online as well. So tons and tons of great content.
First of all, Poby, do you live in the U.S.? Are you a U.S. resident? Because that would be really fun if you aren't a U.S. resident, because then we would be chatting with somebody else.
That'd be cool. Yeah. So, Poby, there's two options. You can either follow us on Twitch and get notifications every time.
Oh, he does not live in the U.S. Oh, this is going to be fun.
You can follow us on Twitch, and you can get notifications every time we stream. And as you see, yes, we do stream 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time.
That is correct.
Ooh, Wales. Right on.
Wales.
Across the pond.
All right. Well, you need to post with an accent, Poby. So then we know that you're from Wales.
No, seriously, we love the fact that you're commenting, even if we don't agree with, and if we end up disagreeing, we still want you to come here and talk to us.
Yeah, please comment. I love comments. Please. Also, thanks for the follow, Poby. Thank you.
Yes. So you had great feedback, great comments, great views, and we also greatly appreciate that your comments were so respectful too. It's really quite funny or interesting online that so many people, they either agree or disagree, but if they disagree, how unprofessional their comments become right away. I was having a conversation with somebody who was attempting to understand a local landfill issue. By the way, in College County.
We actually just had a question on where is the landfill at right now.
Okay, well, we can touch on that briefly here before we go off. But somebody was, I thought, attempting to have some honest conversation about the landfill, so I provided them with some information, and they made a statement that was clearly false and said that if there was a public-private partnership, that immediately what would happen is that the life of the landfill would be reduced because there'd be more material coming in. Well, it seems like a logical cause and effect situation, but it is actually false. And so I shared with the individual as to why it was false. And after a short little bit, he comes back with the, "Hey, Kevy boy," I was like this really, childish, condescending thing. So it's just like, well, I thought you were honest.
Is this where I get to do a More You Know segment?
Yeah.
Okay, so right. Are you guys ready for the More You Know? Kevin Hunter works for NDN News. Kyle Torgerson works for NDN News. Chris Bornstead works for NDN News. We started this together.
Yeah.
We work for nobody, and nobody pays us to do anything except for our Patreon people, and that's you guys.
Thank you.
And we want that. We want citizen support. We want support from you guys. We do not work for Republic. We do not work for the Calais County. We do not work for Burger King or Taco Bell. We work for NDN.
So, here's the funny part. To your point, Chris, that we have shared a lot of factual information about the landfill and Republic Services here on the broadcast. What has given us the ability to do that? Have we done things that city council people, other elected leaders in our communities have not?
I would like to say that when it comes to the landfill right now, we know more than majority of the council members that are in Castle Rock, Woodland, Longview, and Kelso.
Kalama. All of them.
We know more than you guys do, and can base our facts and our decisions and our opinions off of what we have gone over, what we have researched.
We've done enough research and homework and multiple visits out to various sites on the landfill issue that I would take every single city council person on all the city councils, put them all in one room, and the three of us will have a conversation with all of you.
What needs to happen is they need
about the landfill, and we'll find out who knows what.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting is just a few different things. First of all, there is a landfill in Corvallis, the Coffin Butte area, that is run by Republic Services that has equal rainfall to what we have here in this community. How many of the city council people have made a trip to Coffin Butte or even know anything about the Corvallis landfill?
None of them.
Zero.
If they did, then they would have been at the SWAC meeting going, "You guys have a problem with leachate."
Yes.
I mean, these guys would have been.
That.
They knew nothing. I mean, they made a
Exactly.
decision based off of. I think his name is Kevin Willis, who was also on the SWAC board, who was supposed to recuse himself from that. He didn't vote, But he definitely interjected himself into the meeting and controlled that meeting when he wasn't supposed to.
So what else did we do? We made a couple trips out to a place in Klickitat County. Kyle, what was that place?
Well, before I get to that, I really need to get to this comment. So, for Twitch, how you follow us, for Mr. Baker to follow us, if you're on your phone, you just tap the screen and there's like a little heart in the top right corner. You can just click that and it follows us. If you're on the computer, just find the little heart and click it. Boom, you're followed. Also, we so just what was the question again, so I can get on track?
So what were the trips? We made a couple of trips out to Klickitat County.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. We went to Roosevelt twice and took the tour, which was kind of different both times. Twice, just to make sure we got all the facts. So we went down to Roosevelt, which is like maybe a 4-hour drive. Went down there, stayed there for 6 hours, came back, did that twice, went to headquarters, took a tour of their facility, and we also even went to the open house that Republic had.
That was on June 19th.
We've been to all the SWAC meetings. We've been to all of, basically, I mean, we are going to meetings that citizens don't normally even go to.
Presentations by Commissioner Mortensen that were made in multiple cities for multiple chambers around the community.
Correct.
Yes. So the point is that, what was really interesting is, aside from the SWAC meeting, I never saw a city council person at any one of the meetings I was ever at. I never encountered them on any of the trips we ever made. Not a single one of them signed in on the open house that was on June 19th. And you know what, you guys? There were 8 experts from the industry there to answer questions.
Wait, how many experts, Kevin?
8.
8?
8.
8.
Wow, they could have got a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, coming at this issue from all different angles. Yeah, they could have got their questions answered. The city councils in this community, in my opinion, showed that they're hypocrites and they had an alternate agenda by sending a letter to the county commissioners and asking them to slow down so they could get information, because none of them have made any effort to get information.
I honestly think that again, well, while this process is going on, Waste Control is renegotiating contracts with the city of Kelso and the city of Longview. So I'm pretty sure that has
hiking up rates.
Huge factor in why they want to slow things down. They want to see how bad they're going to get raped by Waste Control before they can move forward. But we've had plenty of information. They should have jumped on the bandwagon on the land quarters thing by now, knowing how broke the county is. They know.
Okay, now let me address just a couple of loose issues here before we run out of time, because we're getting close on our time.
We're over a little bit, but that's
so. Here's a couple of really quick issues. One of the concerns to the landfill right now is the amount of traffic, and would the traffic on the road increase? So there's already complaints up in the Tootle area about traffic on those roads. So one of the conversations that I'm aware of that's happening right now, in a very likely situation to take place, is that Republic Services is going to put a road on the rail bed going up there, and their trucks will be taking that road up to the landfill.
Yeah, let's back up a little bit. That we aren't quite there yet, but
I'm not saying that that's been finalized and that's a done deal. I'm telling you right now, that's one of the conversations on the
right.
And let me explain to you guys why this will most likely be put in the contract. Now, we're not saying that it will be, because again, we have to get the commissioners to vote yes to sit down and start negotiating a contract with these guys. But after speaking with people at Republic Services, which we do here frequently, that's how you build relationships and that's how you get information. The grade of the headquarters hill, the road itself, is actually not good for the trucks.
It's part of the problem.
And it's part of the problem. So again, it is feasible to say that they would negotiate to put in a road up on that rail bed because of the trains. They couldn't go up that climb.
The trains went up a very gradual grade to get
so
there.
That's what they need. So this is going to do 2 things. It's going to increase the speed of the operations at the landfill, and it's going to slow the traffic down on Headquarters Road. It won't stop it completely, you guys, because I imagine
trucks still have to come down.
And during the winter time, let's face it, the county will plow the road. And so it will probably be safer to use Headquarters Road during the winter time. But during the summer times and the other times, they'll cruise up and down that hill that they make, and you guys will hardly even notice that they're there. That is something that we can ask for in the contract. But you have to get on the phone, 360-577-3020, and call the commissioners and tell them to sit down and have a conversation with Republic and start negotiating that contract.
He knew that number right off the top
I
of his
got
head.
a couple questions.
You guys, I call the county building a lot. Yes, I have the number memorized.
I know
577-3030.
now,
3020.
He knows that number by heart. I know the Domino's phone number by heart.
636-6000.
So what does that say?
Oh my God.
And the only reason why I remember that is because it's been the same phone number that they have had since they opened their store in Kelso when Michael Jackson came to open it. No, not Michael Jackson the singer. I was disappointed too.
Oh.
It was Michael Jackson the football player. But anyway.
Okay. Man, where was I going with this?
How did I know that number?
Oh, no. So one thing that I learned in band, right? They always get on you for practicing, right? Mm-hmm. Because you always have time for practicing, whether you're just watching TV and then the commercials come on, you can practice then, whether it's just like you play your trumpet or you just tap on your, pants. And it's just through a commercial, or you go to the bathroom and you practice in there, and then you come back. You can do that with research. We literally are on the internet and we have all these information. So these people have had chances. Literally, they could watch like CSI Miami and be like, oh, commercial break, time to do some research. They had so much instances to do all this research, so much time. So like slowing the process down, for what? To do the research you don't want to learn? Look at me. I'm listening to the research. They could do that.
No, people need to look at the landfill thing and take a really good look at it, because hanging on to it really, in my opinion, isn't an option.
And I remember the other thing.
I mean, we're going to still retain it. It's still going to be ours, but we're going to lease it out.
You guys remember all the people who were clamoring at the county admin building, disparaging the commissioners for even thinking about dumping the needle exchange and having the private party run it? You remember all those people saying, oh, no, the county's got to have their mitts in it. And you know what the proof was? The truth was the county really didn't know anything about administering a proper needle exchange program, did they?
No, they were just the people that took in the grant money.
Yep, they sucked at it. And so there we go. And
no, by forcing the county out of the needle exchange program, Kevin, you put this up on the landfill page because somebody couldn't understand the correlation between the two. Mm-hmm. You got the county out of the needle exchange business, and most things got a little better. Mm-hmm. Less needles, more people into recovery. It got better. Mm-hmm. When the government runs something, we don't want our government running things, you guys. They just can't do it. They just can't.
To comment on the private road for Republic Services. Now, they're still in negotiation, right? So everything's not finalized, right. And this is just talk. Let me just give an example from Klickitat County. They have their own personal road, Republic Services does, right. But not only do they maintain their road, but they also maintain the county's road, which,
correct.
So that's what they do in Klickitat County, which they could do if they negotiate it here. Mm-hmm. So
I want to add one last point on that, and then we got to run today. So there's going to come a time here soon that the commissioners will be taking a vote to officially open negotiations so that they can find out what they're actually comparing to. I want to be crystal clear on this for anybody who has any questions. This is a vote to open negotiations and actually get all the facts on the table. So then you can actually factually compare where the county is at running the operation and what it would look like if they had Republic come in and help manage the landfill. So that's what you're looking at. They're monetary comparisons. There will be environmental comparisons. There will be life of landfill comparisons. There will be rate comparisons. All of these things will be compared, including the potential of another alternate road going up to the landfill. All of those things will have a apples to apples comparison between, does it make sense to have the county continue to run this thing or do a partnership of some sort with Republic Services. All the facts will be on the table. So should any commissioner vote no, not to move forward on that step, what they're simply saying is, we don't even want the information to look at. There you go. Plug your ears. I see no evil. I hear no evil. I speak no evil. Yeah, that's That's any commissioner who votes no against taking that step. It's just pure idiotic stupidity. That is all that is, because you're simply saying, I don't even want to have the facts in front of me and the entirety of the information in front of me so that we could make a good decision. That's all they're saying.
I would also like to add that our friend from Republic has just posted that Commissioner Weber would also like to have a road on the rail as well.
Fantastic.
So that is something that we can work with that.
I give a lot of credit to Commissioner Weber because he's shown a great deal of leadership on this issue. I know that he's talking to cities as well about a potential percentage of revenue share. I know that's something that he's on board with, that Commissioner Mortensen is on board with, and that's fantastic. If you're in any of the cities, let me just give you a really quick example. So let's say if we use the 15% number, 15% of the revenue that comes to the landfill actually gets shared out to the cities. In this past year, Castle Rock requested from the county $10,000 to be used for some given, I don't even know what it was for, but it was $10,000. Do you know, the citizens of Castle Rock, that your share based on population of that 15% number, that your annual share of that number would be $100,000 just for Castle Rock alone?
That's like 10 times more.
Like 10 times the money you might be asking the county for now would actually be a percentage of revenue paid to each of the communities. So that I'm also aware of is on the table, a 15% share potential to the municipalities around inside the county as a result of a public-private partnership or anything on that order with regard to the county. So there's a win to the cities, there's a win to the county, and again, going back to this issue with Commissioner Weber, totally respect the fact that we talked about Coffin Butte and Corvallis. He made the trip down there to go take a look at that landfill. You guys, if you're up in the Spirit Lake or the Toutle area, this is something that you absolutely have to know. The same landfill, actually, they have 100 acres developed in landfill where we have 80 right now. So they have more total acres in development in landfill in Corvallis than we do here in this landfill. Yet we produce, Commissioner Weber said, somewhere around 78 million gallons of leachate here because we have an inadequate cover over our landfill. Whereas down in Corvallis, they produce 24 million gallons of leachate. Now we're talking about 55 million gallons of water that's going through that landfill that shouldn't. It creates structural problems with the landfill. First of all, leachate is one of the biggest risks to the environment. You should be doing everything you can to minimize that. And it also is taking away the opportunity for someone in their neighborhood of 55 million gallons of fresh water that could be going to Silver Lake. And God knows they need it. We were just up there looking at that murky, mucky water they have in the lake. They need the fresh water up there.
I'm going to make a prediction, Kevin, whether it's Republic Services or somebody else, and I think I made this prediction before, we will do a deal with somebody.
It's a complete no-brainer that a deal is done.
It doesn't matter if it's done now under these three commissioners. If there's another election happen and we get more commissioners, and if we get a particular commissioner, there's going to be a deal with somebody. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what, there's going to be a deal. What we want to do is make sure that we get the best deal with the best company, and I believe that Republic is that company.
I got two things. First of all, if you don't want us to privatize the landfill, well, you can contact us here and tell us why. We can even have you on the show if you'd like, and you can discuss with us about why you don't want the landfill, right?
The other thing that you should do in your statement against privatization, the other thing that you should do in that is share with us where you're going to get, or where you propose the county would get, the $27 million to do the proper cover on the landfill, so we don't have a leachate problem. And then I recommend that you also propose where we're going to get the millions of dollars to go to the heavy machinery that the landfill needs as well to get proper compaction.
I want to go back to what you said about getting some of these other people on the show, and I would like to point out that Kyle went to Eddie Westmoreland of Waste Connections, after
boy.
one of the SWAC meetings and invited him on the show.
Handed him a card, gave him his our contact
These guys
information.
will come on the show, especially Waste Connections. And the reason being is because the first question that they're going to have to answer for me, if they sit in this chair, is, you've had 2 shots at a deal with us. Why are you not giving us your best deal? Why didn't you give us your best deal the first shot? Mm-hmm. Why didn't you give us your best deal the second shot? Mm-hmm. And now you want a third try?
Have you ever had a contractor come out and bid on a home building project, or you know anybody who ever did? And did each of these contractors in the process keep calling you up and go, wait a minute, I want to see all the other bids so I can make my bid higher or adjust whatever? No, you put your best foot forward, and if that best foot isn't something that's as good or it has the same considerations that somebody else's proposal is, and the other proposal is better, guess what? You get eliminated in the process. Nobody comes back to you and says, sometimes you see situations like that happening, but it's a rare situation. If you didn't put together your best foot the first time, you're usually out. The fact that they've had a couple, and we also know that there have been behind the scenes communication going on with this organization in particular, going back now several years, 2014 and even before 2014. We know these. I had a conversation with one of the commissioners who told me that the ink was not even dry on the purchase of the landfill when the first proposal hit their desk from Waste Connections. Yeah, somebody was working on that baby behind the scenes before it even happened. Well, you know what? Go ahead, Kyle. Real quick.
We can just keep going, you guys. I mean, literally, we could keep going and educating you guys on this stuff that's going on around here. But okay, go ahead.
I got 2 things. First of all, I'd like to thank Dad Bake for following us on Twitch, and also
What was his name?
Dad Bake on Twitch. I also want to give a little, not like a shout out, but a little preview of tomorrow's show. Mm-hmm. So we do a Tech Tuesday show with Harry Brailsford. I just want to talk about our set. Look at this set. Look how cool this is.
Killer, you guys.
Right? That's
Yes.
Tech Tuesday. Look at it. It's beautiful.
And by the way, we are so good at what we do that Kyle and I made a trip to Harry Brailsford's place on Bainbridge Island.
Is off Toe Jam Road.
Yeah, off Toe Jam Road. Yeah, it actually is.
Toe Jam Road.
And we shared with him how we do our setup because he was so